kill anyone on the team as long as their positioning is perfect. And maybe they caught a few unlucky fear pathings. You know, I saw Prankcat get fear behind a pillar once or twice where he was missing a second of healing, and it took more work to get Stolen Kiss and Gucci back into it. And then again, Stolen Kiss was out of the fight for a good 6 or 7 seconds just trying to run with no Shadow Step up. And that's a big deal. They could have converted that into a kill on Toes with better timing, better positioning. So we'll see if they take that into account going into the next match. And they got on Snuts early to mitigate his damage, and then failed to mitigate his damage because he pumped out 1 mil, 500,000, and that will definitely do you in when all you've got is a Paladin healer who is eventually going to be caught into CC.
Of course, and that is the one big vulnerability of Paladins right now. Of course, they might not have to cast as much as they used to. Big shift in the game of Holy Paladins. I actually picked Holy Paladin up as my main in Cataclysm. Loving it, because I can just run around and cast instants constantly.
Yeah, I mean, they're so viable because of that mobility. And mobility is a huge, huge deal in Arena, as you well know. So we'll see how they play differently. Let's see if we get into you know, a different matchup here. Negran was a little spread out for them.
And it is going to be a different map this time around, of course. Runes of Lordaeron.
Oh.
One of the maps they added mid-expansion. It was nice to see. Normally these arena maps pop up. Of course, we had the originals first, and then Blade's Edge. And that was, you know, it was in Burning Crusade. And then we got a nice treat with another map, Runes of Lordaeron. It's changed a bit, though. This map used to have a lot larger area in the center, in the starting area, rather. And so there was a lot of strategies where a team would sit way back and use the sides of the entry area to their advantage.
Yeah,
and, you know, that kind of passive play sometimes isn't the most exciting to watch. So what they did was chop the sides off. And so if you're going to be in that starting area, you're pretty much in LOS nonstop.
Yeah, exactly. There's only a very, very small area where you could sit down and drink without getting hit by a 40-yard spell. But, you know, any AoE spell is going to bring you out of it, and any pet interaction is going to put you into combat. So they definitely fixed a lot of the problems, but it's still possible to use the starting area. It's just not as viable of a strategy, and more often than not, it gets you murdered.
All right. Okay, it looks like we are going to have to requeue these guys, of course. We'll jump out of this arena in just a moment.
Looks like they're missing Pooks there in that lineup.
Yeah, oh, and now it's 1v3.
Oh, no.
And there it is. All right. So there we go. All right, we're going to get back into the game, though. It looks like Pooks may have not made it quite into the arena. Yeah. And you need 3 players.
Might have been changing something.
All right, here we go. Oh. And so we're going to put them right back in once the players are ready.
I don't think they'll make any changes. Do you think Team Roccat is looking to make any changes?
Just strategy-wise. Yeah, just strategy-wise, because the team skill capped really chose many different targets to go on during that fight, except for the Paladin.
Yeah, I think Roccat, they put a lot of damage out on all 3, and their focus on Toes at the end probably would have been better saved for an opportunity where you had the Mage in a block, or the Warlock has to portal because he's at 20k. You know, not just get on the Paladin because it's the Paladin and maybe we can kill him. So I think they need to put more pressure on the casters before they go on Toes if that's their primary target.
And the RNG gods smiled on us. They put him right back into Runes of Lordaeron. Look at that.
I like it.
All right, so these players are getting ready. 1-0. This means Team Roccat has to win this match to stay, to grab these points. Of course, we were talking that when all these wins are going to be so important towards the end of the round, because these teams, once they get done with this round robin, it's not over. We're not just taking the people with the best, you know, the best ratio at that point. They're going to be playing in a little single elimination bracket.
Exactly, it's point-based, so the winner of a best of 3 in round robin will gain 3 tournament points, and the loser will receive 0. And we have a similar draw system as we had last year.
And it would be 1 point?
Exactly, 1 point, 1 point. And that's actually, that translates into 1 tournament point, I believe, if it draws all the way through.
Yes. And I honestly do not see this happening. I mean, that match did last. Yeah, that match did last a little while, but don't believe it hit 15 minutes at all.
A little while. Compared to last year, I didn't even realize we were actually watching a real game.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to follow Snuts out of the gate this time to see just how well he can manage to get all these unstable afflictions all over the enemy team, because that's going to be the name of his game. Pooks, of course, is going to start the match out in Viz, a great idea. Not going to be able to be targeted right away, as he's going to try to find his target. Of course, it is going to be Gucci, and look at the damage that Gucci is taking already with a great... Yeah.
Already an icy bound 42 for Gucci. There's a double Hal into a poly. Absolutely silly, like we were talking about. The synergy between Ring and Hal really showing for the MLS. A lot of spells. Well, a few spells still coming out from him, trying to get Stolen Kisses buff for some reason. Pooks with damage up. Going to put out another poly onto maybe Prankcat. Actually, no, it looks like they're going on to Pooks now. Stolen Kiss vanishing to get back on the Snuts. Yes, target swap over to Snuts with an Imp Garrett. He gets deep. And just look at the coordination of that team. Stolen Kiss had not swapped targets for more than a second and a half. And Pooks deeps in while under pressure himself. And that all comes down to saving those Fingers of Frost procs, saving your Pet Nova for little things like that. And Toes playing that Paladin here, by the way, giving him freedom on those casters is a big deal, especially against DK Rogue, who both have pretty serious slows, which can cripple a caster.
And look at Snuts right now hurting a bunch, and he's going to have to portal away because his Paladin was HO Jade. I like that crowd control that the team of Roccat is throwing out at the right time. Of course, that means Pooks is going to be a great target to go on, but every time that Shadow Step is up, he can choose what target he wants to go on.
And I see Team Roccat doing the exact right thing. They're just almost in the right position, too. They need to work on getting Toes excluded from the fight much further than 20 yards. He needs to be completely out of this fight if they're going to get a kill on Pooks and Snuts, who both have a lot of escape mechanics.
All right, one of the things earlier in this match, though, that was pretty big. Oh, actually, look at Pooks taking a bunch of damage right now. They can force a block out of him. It would put them in a great situation since Prankcat survived that big offensive push. They were trying to get him to bubble at that point.
Yeah, but Toes got that freedom off before he was strangled. And there's a block on Stolen Kiss's kidney, so there's the first block out of Pooks. And Toes, sitting pretty, has nothing to worry about. Standing here just sort of healing in the face of everybody, while Team Roccat is running around frantically trying to get back on their targets and mitigate some of this damage coming out of Snuts. There's really no dots up here on Team Roccat, and they want to keep it that way. Stolen Kiss, he's got Dance up now, but he's howled off the tomb. And this is what I'm talking about. This is the pathing they need. Stolen Kiss howled almost out to the goo. And now he'll be able to come back over, but he missed so much uptime on Snuts, and that allowed him to roll out damage. Gucci caught into a Hodge, and Snuts into a Kitty now. We'll see if he's going to go for that dance. If Stolen Kiss is going to try to burst him there. I believe that Shadow Dance up right now. Yep, he's pumping out damage on Snuts, but you see, it's just not enough because Toes is not controlled.
All right, so Gucci is managing to stay alive through all this offensive pressure, even though they're putting tons of crowd control onto Prankcat. But Prankcat using every tool possible. We saw him already burn through his Aura Mastery, his Hand of Sacrifice, so many ways of getting himself out of crowd control. That zone's gonna pop, there we go, right there. Now Gucci's still taking
gone.
So much damage onto him. It's serious when that thing gets dispelled or gets removed instantly.
That's gotta worry the Taiwanese team. Just in the AMZ's up. Never mind. Yeah, that means that Snuts has got a lot of uptime, like I talked about, on that too. Pooks has been the one they've been focusing the most, and I like him running that hybrid spec. He's got Blazing Speed proc, combine that with Freedom. He has so much escape when it comes to getting away from this DK and Rogue. Yeah, that's all they're doing, just running around kiting.
I mean, you look at Pooks, he's been doing a lot of very risky moves, such as casting right in the face, and there we go. He knows he has to get every little bit of mana from that Evocate as possible. Wow, he's taking a ton of damage, and he's CC on it. Yeah. Okay, so this is what you need to watch for at home. When they use two defensive cooldowns at the same time like that, such as Block and Blessing of Protection, or Hand of Protection rather, it can spell defeat towards the end. Now this is a big thing. The crowd control I wanted to mention earlier is going to be mitigated by Prankcat because you see him have that Unholy Frenzy up because it's going to damage him constantly.
Yep, and you know what? They just need to stay on Pooks. Team Roccat knows that Pooks is the only
but look at the damage onto Gucci right now. As Prankcat is not able to pick him up quite too much, that Aura Mastery is going to come out because he has to get those heals off at that point.
Yeah, and Gucci has stuck to Pooks for such a long time now. I feel like maybe if they could just get dots off Pooks and throw a blind on him because he's going to have to use the trinket that he doesn't have, meaning he'll be stuck in a full blind. They could swap to Toes or Snuts, but they're just not doing it. Gucci is tunnel visioning on this mage. Very, very afraid that they're going to catch more shatters and more polys than they can handle.
And here they go on to Prankcat right now. See how he can handle it.
Ooh, deep to coil, and Prankcat taking terrible damage, and he just falls over. Beautiful deep freeze to death coil, overlapped at the 0.2 second mark, about as efficient as you can get.
Yeah, and that's what you need to do as this team. When you have great communication while you're playing Arena, it allows you to layer that crowd control. And the difference between a team that does that and doesn't, it's about like a 1,200 and a 2,000.
Exactly, yeah. No contest, really. And this is what I was talking about. The MLS has that big range advantage, and the kiting. Pooks getting all that freedom, Toes, and having Blazing Speed procs really did make all the difference. He was in trouble quite a bit. Went through 2 ice blocks, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with mages, but that's about all the ice blocks you're going to get unless that match goes longer than 10 minutes.